This is the WYBOT C2 Vision robotic pool vacuum. It actually sees debris, goes after it, and comes back for a second try if it misses, which means I no longer babysit a pool robot or redo spots by hand. I would put this squarely in the smart robotic cleaner category for home pools. It is best for people who deal with a mix of fine dust, sand, and seasonal leaves, and who want truly low-effort maintenance without sacrificing thoroughness. If you have ever watched a robot wander around and push a leaf like a hockey puck, this is a very different experience. The design looks and feels like a purpose-built tool. It weighs around 24 pounds, so it is not a featherweight. That heft gives it real stability underwater. It does not drift away from the waterline or lose its grip on a slope. The control panel on top is simple and obvious, which I like, because I do not want to guess what a blinking light means when I am standing in the sun with wet hands. Underneath, there is a wide intake and a large brush. The intake has rubber flaps that act like a gentle check valve. They are not airtight, but they keep collected debris from washing back out while the robot turns or climbs. There is a front-facing camera that works with artificial intelligence, and it is not there for show. More on that in a moment. Setup was painless. It comes fully assembled, and the box includes a retrieval hook that snaps onto a standard pole. Because of the weight, that hook matters. I can lift it by hand, but the hook saves my back when the basket is full of wet leaves. Charging is straightforward. The adapter connects at the back, and a full charge takes about 3 hours in my testing. I got enough runtime to clean my entire pool with margin most days. On days with a big mess, I ran a second-floor focus pass and still did not hit a dead battery. Connectivity was easy. I paired it with my phone over Bluetooth in a minute, and later connected it to my home wireless network inside the application for scheduling. The application is refreshingly simple. It is not trying to do too much. Controls are labeled clearly, and it responds quickly when I start or change a mode. The star feature, though, is how it actually cleans. The artificial intelligence camera lets it spot debris on the floor and make decisions. When it approaches a leaf pile or a chunk like a small rock, I can hear the motor ramp up and see the unit slow down to make a clean pass. If it pushes something or does not get the full piece, it repositions and comes back. I tested it with several small stones on purpose. It eventually collected every one of them, except for a tiny chip that took a few cycles to disappear. That persistence is what separates this from the usual random pattern robots I have tried. Wall cleaning and the waterline scrub are legit. The brush is wide enough that the climb is steady, and it actually works its way along the tile where grime and pollen love to cling. In my pool, that spot used to need a manual brush every week. With the WYBOT C2 Vision, I still give it a quick touch now and then, but it is no longer a chore. On the floor, the pathing is not random. I can set patterns in the application, like an S shape or a cross or a star shape, and it covers the basin without leaving blind lanes. On the walls, it can switch to patterns that make sense for vertical surfaces. The point is, I can pick a pattern that fits the day and see consistent coverage when the session is done. Filtration is better than I expected. The basket is easy to open with a push latch, and the high-efficiency particulate air filter is very fine. That means it traps the stuff I used to see shimmering in the light after a windy day. The first time I rinsed the filter, I was surprised by how much pollen and dust it had collected. Leaves and acorns end up in the basket, and the fine mesh catches the silt that usually evades cheaper filters. Rinsing takes a minute under a hose, and the filter pops right back in. In real-life use, it is quiet. I can sit by the pool and have a conversation while it is running and barely notice it. That may not matter to everyone, but I appreciate that I can schedule it to run in the morning without turning the yard into a white noise machine. Speaking of scheduling, the application lets me set specific days and times, and it actually sticks to the plan. I have an eco floor mode set to run every other morning. It is a lighter clean that keeps things tidy between bigger sessions. After storms or when the trees drop a lot, I switch to a turbo floor session and a full standard clean with walls and waterline. Those names are just buttons in the application, but they match what I see in the pool. Here is a typical week for me. My pool sits under a couple of trees, and there is a tanning ledge that loves to collect small leaves. Early in the week, I run an eco-floor clean. Midweek, I set a waterline-focused run to keep the tile from getting that sticky ring. If we have wind, I do a turbo floor run that evening, then a full clean the next morning. I have tossed in pebbles, large maple leaves, and a handful of sand to see how it copes. The WYBOT C2 Vision finds them, ramps up, and collects almost all of it on the first pass, with the occasional stubborn bit picked up on the second or third try. Corners are still the tricky part of any pool. This robot gets close, but certain tight angles or that raised tanning ledge sometimes need a quick sweep with a hand brush. That is not unique to this unit, but it is worth knowing if your pool has sharp ledges or steps with odd geometry. The weight is both a pro and a con. Underwater, that heft translates to grip and stability. It does not float off or lose traction as it climbs. Above water, you feel the weight when it is time to pull it out. The retrieval hook makes it manageable, but if you want the lightest possible robot, this is not that. I will take the stability trade-off personally, because the cleaning benefits are obvious in my pool. Connectivity has been mostly smooth. The first pairing over Bluetooth was quick. Over my home wireless network, the application occasionally took a couple of tries to connect when I opened it the very first time, but since then, it has been reliable. I can start a session, switch modes, or schedule without fighting the interface. The naming is plain language: floor, walls, waterline, standard clean, eco floor, turbo floor. No guessing and no digging for hidden menus. There are also thoughtful touches that I did not expect. The robot clearly ramps suction when it detects debris, which saves battery during lighter sections and puts power where it actually matters. When the basket is nearly full, it still manages to pull in fine material thanks to the wide intake and those rubber flaps. If you yank it out too quickly, a little silt can wash back out, but if you lift it steadily and let the water drain, everything stays put. The company tests the units in water before shipping, so a few water marks out of the box do not mean it was used. The warranty is 2 years, which is reassuring for a device that lives in a harsh environment of sun, chemicals, and moving water. I have come to trust it enough to set and forget most days. I still do a quick visual sweep of the corners and the tanning ledge, and sometimes I run a targeted waterline session before a weekend, but the amount of manual work I do now is a fraction of what it used to be. The pool looks clearer, especially after I switched to the high-efficiency particulate air filter insert. That extra fine mesh was the difference between a pool that looked clean from 10 feet away and a pool that looked clean up close. Who is this for? If your pool collects a little bit of everything, from dust to sand to larger leaves, and you value a cleaner that can see debris and adapt to it, the WYBOT C2 Vision delivers. If you need something feather light, or if your pool has lots of narrow ledges and tight step corners that only a hand brush can reach, you will still have a small amount of touch-up work. For everyone else, this is a stable, quiet, genuinely smart cleaner that turns pool maintenance into a background task. It is not perfect, but it is the most effective pool robot I have used so far, and it has taken the stress out of my weekly routine. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment with your questions or your own experience. Thank you for watching.